Okay guys, 1, 7, midpoint and distance in the coordinate plane. There's two formulas that you need to know to start this. It's midpoint formula and it's distance formula. So when you're dealing with midpoint formula here, okay, it's going to go 2 points, point A and point B. Now x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. That's just a denotion or the points that you're going to have here. That's the subscript is saying, hey, this is a specific x coordinate, this is, and the subscript 2 is a different other x coordinate. So when you're finding the midpoint formula here, guys, what you want to do is take the two x coordinates, which is x1 plus x2, and then divide by 2. That gives you your new x coordinate of your midpoint. To find, and then you take the two y's, so y1 plus y2, and divide by 2, and that gives you your new y coordinate for your midpoint. Okay, we'll call midpoint, then we'll call this point M. Okay, that's a new set of points, point M for your midpoint. The distance formula still deals with 2 points, point A and point B. Okay, except to find the distance, what you're going to do is you're going to take the square root of x2 minus x1 and then square it plus y2 minus y1 and then square that as well. And then take the square root of the whole thing. Problem 1a, what is the midpoint of the line here? They put the line on a number line. It's a little bit easier to do. If you say a here is -4 and b is 9, what you're going to do is you're going to find the midpoint of -4 and 9. So again, same concept. Add the 2 up, divide by 2. So -4 plus 9 is 5, divided by 2, which gives you 2.5. There's your midpoint of that line. In part B, they give you coordinates actually on a graph, and I've got a nice little graph paper back here so you can actually see how it is. What are the coordinates of the midpoint of this line here? Well, if we call this my x1 and that my y1, and this my x2 and that my y2, we're going to use that formula for the midpoint as we had earlier. All you got to do is add your x's, add your y's, divide by 2. So let's talk about that. That's going to give me 7 plus 2 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 5 plus -4 divided by 2. So add them up. 7 plus 2 is 9 divided by 2, and 5 plus -4 is -1 divided by 2. And you could just leave it like that. If you want to make 9 halves, 4 1/2, that's fine, but we got to get used to seeing fractions like that. Okay, problem 2 is the midpoint of CD is point M. Okay, so this is point C, sorry, call that point C. -2, 1. One endpoint is -5, 7. So like I said, call that point C. We're trying to find where point D is. So like I said, I know the midpoint is -2, 1. So if my midpoint is -2, 1, that's going to equal the x coordinate of the one, which is -5, plus the x coordinate of the other one, which I don't know, divided by 2. And then the y coordinate of the one, which is 7, plus the other y coordinate divided by 2. What you need to do is take and break this up. This x should equal here, and this y should equal this. Okay, so -2 equals -5 plus x divided by 2, and you get 1 equals 7 plus y divided by 2. To solve, go ahead and multiply by 2 first. Always want to multiply by your denominator. That gives me -4 equals -5 plus x. Add 5. That gives me x equals 1. Same thing over here, multiply by 2. I get 7 plus y equals 2. Subtract 7 now. I get y equals -5. So my other endpoint, point D, is going to be 1, -5. Problem 3 is about finding distance. What is the distance between u at -7.5 and v at 4, -3? Now again, we're going to use that distance formula from earlier in the chapter here, but as always, you should draw a graph. I'm going to be a little lazy here. I'm not going to draw my graph because I'm going to call this x1, this y1, this x2, this y2. So remember, we talked about distance being the square root of x2, which in this case is 4, minus x1, which is -7, squared, plus y2, which is -3, minus y1, which is 5, and we'll square that as well. Now understand, it doesn't matter which ones I call x1 and which one I call x2. If I want to make that 4x1 or the negative 7x2, that's fine too. So it doesn't matter. But now it's just simply plugging this stuff in the calculator. Negative 4 plus 7 is 11 squared, plus negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8 squared. Real quick math, 11 squared is 121. Negative 8 squared is 64. And then you add those two up, you get the distance to be the square root of 185. Now you can punch that in a calculator, get whatever that is equivalent to, or just leave it square root of 185 or reduce the radical depending on what they're asking for, but that's how you find the distance between 2 points.